Welcome to Elderly Care, a channel devoted to helping seniors live with dignity, clarity, and emotional well-being. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a story that truly matters. And if you find this video meaningful, please like and share it with others, because sometimes a small piece of insight can make a big difference in someone's life. Today's video is one that touches many hearts, but is often left unspoken. We're going to explore why many older people start feeling resentment toward their spouse after 65, and more importantly, how to protect the relationship you've spent a lifetime building. If you've ever felt distance growing between you and your partner in these later years, stay with us. What you hear next might just bring you closer again. It often begins in silence, not with shouting or slamming doors or dramatic exits, but with small things that go unspoken. A sigh that's barely audible, a slight pulling away when hands meet, a quiet feeling that something once warm has cooled, but no one dares to name it. Margaret was 67 when she first admitted to herself that she was resenting Harold. They had been married for over 40 years. Together, they had raised 3 children, survived layoffs, illnesses, the loss of parents, and the long, grinding years of work and sacrifice. They had dreamed of retirement as a kind of reward, a season of peace and pleasure after decades of striving. But something unexpected happened. Instead of basking in each other's company, Margaret found herself irritated by how slowly Harold moved around the house. His routines, once endearing, now felt like disruptions. She missed silence when he wanted conversation. She craved activity when he preferred stillness. And Harold, in turn, felt confused and withdrawn. He didn't understand why his gestures of affection were met with coolness, or why the laughter between them had thinned into occasional polite chuckles. There was no crisis, no betrayal, just a growing gap neither knew how to cross. They are not alone. Across the world, thousands of older couples find themselves quietly grappling with the feelings of resentment, detachment, or disillusionment after the age of 65. These emotions often emerge not out of conflict, but out of unmet expectations, shifting identities, and the emotional weight of aging. But while this pattern is common, it is not inevitable, and understanding it is the first step to transforming it. Many older adults enter their later years with the belief that love, once weathered through decades of life, should now feel easier. But aging brings its own psychological and emotional challenges. Bodies change, energy dips, purpose fades, children leave, friends pass. The roles that once defined us, provider, parent, caregiver, decision maker, begin to dissolve. And we're left with the question, who am I now, and who are we together? This identity crisis, though subtle, affects how partners see each other. Psychologists have observed that after retirement, couples often face what's called the proximity paradox. During their working years, many couples had routines that created healthy space, work, hobbies, parenting duties. But once both spouses are home all day, every day, that space collapses. What once felt like love now feels like constant presence. What once felt like partnership now begins to feel like friction. There's also the quiet accumulation of years of small hurts, words said in haste, dreams sacrificed, needs unspoken. These memories, if never processed, turn into quiet resentments. And when both people are older, more tired, and perhaps lonelier, those resentments can resurface. Not in dramatic arguments, but in avoidance, passive comments, or emotional distancing. Mary, a 72-year-old widow now, once shared, "When I was 66, I started feeling like my husband didn't see me anymore. We were in the same room, but not really together. I was angry and I didn't know why. It wasn't until I started talking to a counselor that I realized I had changed, and I hadn't given myself or him the space to rediscover who we both were becoming." This insight is profound, because what often underlies resentment in later life is not hatred, but grief. Grief over time past, grief over bodies that don't move like they used to, grief over dreams that never came true, and often the person closest to us becomes the unwitting symbol of those losses. So how do we protect our relationships after 65? How do we honor the love we built while adapting to the people we are now? The first and most vital step is awareness. Naming what we feel, even if it feels uncomfortable, is the beginning of healing. Resentment thrives in silence, but once spoken, it begins to soften. Talking honestly about your emotional state, not just practical things like health or money, is essential. You don't need to accuse or blame. You can simply say, "I've been feeling lonely even when we're together," or "I think I'm struggling with changes I didn't expect." These kinds of sentences open the door rather than slam it. The second step is curiosity. Who is your partner now? Not who they were at 30 or 40, but today. People continue to grow, even in old age. Ask them what they're thinking about, what they miss, what they dream of now. You may be surprised. Intimacy in later life isn't about grand adventures or fiery passion. It's about mutual discovery, gentle presence, and shared vulnerability. Margaret and Harold, after months of quiet drifting, decided to try something unusual. They began writing letters to each other, not emails, not texts, handwritten letters, once a week, slipped under the door like little gifts. They wrote about memories, regrets, secret hopes, and funny observations. And slowly, they began to laugh again. Not because anything major had changed, but because they had changed how they were paying attention. Another way to protect your relationship is to seek purpose beyond the relationship itself. Couples who spend all their emotional energy solely on each other often burn out. It's important, even in old age, to cultivate individual interests. Whether it's gardening, joining a book club, volunteering, or learning a new skill, these pursuits nourish the self, which in turn revitalizes the partnership. Dr. Susan Whitfield, a geriatric psychologist, often says, "A healthy relationship in older age is not two people clinging to each other. It's two people walking side by side, still holding their own dreams, but happy to share the journey." This balance of togetherness and independence is crucial. There is also the matter of forgiveness. Over a lifetime, no one escapes without causing or receiving pain. Forgiveness in older age is not about excusing every flaw or pretending things were perfect. It's about choosing peace over bitterness. It's about saying, "I may not agree with everything you did, but I still choose to walk this road with you." And finally, touch. Physical affection is often overlooked in older couples, yet it remains one of the most powerful connectors. A gentle hand on the back, a hug that lingers a few seconds longer, sitting close during a favorite show. These small gestures remind the body and the heart that love is still here, still alive. still worth nurturing. For those who find themselves overwhelmed by resentment and unable to reconnect, seeking help is not a sign of failure. Counseling, even short-term, can be transformative. Many therapists specialize in working with older couples and can offer a neutral space to unpack years of feelings safely. Sometimes, just having a guide to hold the emotional map can make all the difference. There is a beautiful quote that says, "Love in old age is not about the spark that starts the fire, but the steady flame that keeps it burning through the night." The warmth of that flame depends on care, honesty, and the willingness to grow together, even in the later chapters of life. Not all relationships will feel perfect, and that's not the goal. But what is possible, what is deeply achievable, is mutual respect, emotional clarity, and a renewed sense of companionship. You are not who you were at 30, and that's a gift, because now you have the wisdom of years, the perspective of time, and the quiet courage to love differently and perhaps more deeply than ever before. So if you find yourself quietly resenting your spouse after 65, pause. Listen to what your heart is really saying. Is it hurt? Is it loneliness? Is it fear of being forgotten or misunderstood? Then speak, not with accusation, but with truth. Share that ache. Extend your hand. Remember that the person beside you is also aging, also wondering who they're becoming, also hoping to be seen, forgiven, loved. There is still time. Time to begin again. Time to rediscover each other. Time to fall in love. Not with who you used to be, but with who you are now. And in doing so, you may find that the resentment that once felt so heavy begins to lift, replaced by something quieter, stronger, and more enduring. The grace of companionship, the beauty of shared understanding, and the gentle power of love that grows with age, not despite it.